Lexington, Kentucky was no different from any other city in the early 1900s. Aviation was in its infancy, and those daring young men in their flying machines captivated the nation. Around Lexington, horse pastures became airfields, and by 1927, the first municipal airport was dedicated at Dr. Samuel Hawley's Meadowthorpe Farm. In 1928, Charles Lindbergh, by then an international superstar, landed at Hawley Field. Nearly 90 years later, that remarkable visit was all but forgotten. Learning about this and other fascinating stories prompted Bluegrass Airport to take on the challenge of documenting Lexington's remarkable aviation history. To do this, oral histories were commissioned. Photographs and memorabilia were gathered from the community, and a 240-page book entitled Bluegrass Airport, An American Aviation Story was commissioned. Ultimately, 2 historical markers were created to commemorate Lexington's early airfields. A group of Meadowthorpe Elementary 5th graders were present at the Hawley Field marker dedication. They had studied local aviation history and learned of Charles Lindbergh's clandestine visit to Lexington at the height of his fame in 1928.
Well, I think history is important because it lets you know what happened in the past and whose footsteps you can follow.
A famous aviator named Charles Lindbergh came over here. He landed here, and that makes Meadowthorpe special. And also, Meadowthorpe was the first airport in Lexington.
Helen Evans vividly remembers Lindbergh's visit.
I came with my father out to see Lindbergh when he was here in 1928. At that time, I was 7, almost 8 years old. The Lindbergh's arrival was a personal one, and it was supposed to be more or less private. But word got out quickly in little Lexington, and we had between 2,500 and 3,000 people, they say.
Dr. Samuel Hawley was the proprietor of the first airport built on Meadowthorpe Farm. His grandson remembers him well.
He was a red-headed, quite gregarious man who enjoyed publicity, who enjoyed doing things out of the ordinary. And so it's not surprising to me that he decided he wanted to have the first airfield in Lexington. He wanted to do it before anybody else could beat him to the punch, so to speak.
Another marker celebrating Lexington's second municipal airport at Glengarry Field, later renamed Cool Meadow, was also unveiled.
This airfield was dedicated in 1935. It had about 3,500 people come out for what they called back then an air circus, which is what we would consider today an air show. We didn't have traditional commercial airline service here yet, but they did run what they called air taxi, and you can imagine, probably came from the ground transportation mode.
We affectionately refer to the program as History on a Stick. It's a community saying these stories, these events, these people are of significance, and we want to mark that place and that event. What I think makes that program so significant is the fact that these are topics that are important to the community.
The marker celebrated not only the airport, but also the rich history of the farm for which it was named, and North America's oldest thoroughbred auction sales company, Fasig-Tipton, now located on the grounds of the former airport.
I think one of the most exciting things for me in being able to drive past that historical marker every day that I come to work here is that it finally, for me, cements Fasig-Tipton's place in the Lexington community. When we look at the thoroughbred industry today, without air transport, we would be a tiny industry, and you often think about it in terms of the value of exports. But the other thing I don't think people understand is just how portable the thoroughbred is as a commodity. You know, horses have flown back, have been running in the Breeders' Cup in Santa Anita on Saturday, and here we are on Monday, and those horses are on our sales grounds right now. It would have been impossible without the help of the airport at Lexington.
In central Kentucky, history has brought people together to share, celebrate, and remember. A heartfelt thanks goes out to all who shared in the discovery and retelling of the fascinating history of aviation in central Kentucky. Bluegrass Airport is proud to have been able to play a role in bringing this history to light and preserving it for future generations.